Hi, I'm Chris with TUOTEG, and today, you and me are gonna put together a bike. First things first, like opening a Christmas present. Don't try that at home. We're gonna snip our, I don't know what these things are called. What are these things called? We're gonna snip our band straps. All right. Next, we've got our top flap. Now, if you wanna just use brute force and tear it off, you can. Just be careful that you don't scratch yourself on any of these staples. Me, I'm a more refined individual. I'm gonna take my needle nose, pull these things out one by one. And of course, I'm disposing of all my materials properly, right? There'll be a lot of fast forwarding through this section. And then finally, the reveal. Got one piece of top foam here to move out of your way. Next, we're gonna pull the bike out of the box. Important, you know, to lift with your knees and all those good, helpful lifting tips you've been taught over the years. But it's also helpful to have an extra set of hands. So, find the biggest, strongest, burliest person you can and have them come in and help you out. Mostly just to stabilize the box while you're pulling out the bike. Okay. Don't forget to grab the parts box. Got all your small parts in it. So now you've got your bike outside of the box, and we are gonna start by clipping all of our zip ties and removing the packing materials. My favorite tool, the handy dandy side cuts. Strong like bull. Usually start by snipping these to get my front wheel off. You can take your front wheel, set that off to the side. So, first things first, your front wheel. It comes with these handy dandy axle protectors on it that you want to remove and discard. So your bike comes packed with a dummy axle in the fork in order to protect the fork dropouts from damage. So that we can simply loosen up the nuts and pull out. We're gonna take our front wheel and put it in. It helps to loosen these way up before putting them on. It comes equipped with a little safety washer here. Just keep an eye on that because that's gonna go on the outside of your fork dropouts. A couple things to keep an eye on here as you're putting this on. Your safety washer has a little tab in it that inserts into this little hole here. Basically, that just keeps your wheel in the fork if your nuts were ever to come loose. Now that we've got those nuts finger tightened in there, we're gonna take our 15mm box wrench or socket wrench and tighten those axle nuts down. So your kickstand comes in your parts box, along with your manual, your reflectors, your battery charger, saddle, or pedals, or seat post, axle caps. Take these axle caps, put them on your axle nuts, and that'll keep that axle from scraping your shin when you're moving this thing around the garage. So now I'm about to turn the bike around just so I can show you how to put the kickstand on. So next thing we're gonna do is, again, find the biggest, burliest person you can to help you out. We're gonna put on our kickstand on the non-drive side chainstay over here. For this, you're gonna need a 5mm hex wrench. The kickstand comes with the bolts installed, so you quick remove those. The kickstand actually mounts on the inside of the kickstand plate, and then those bolts thread through like so. I can let that thing lean over. And so this makes working on the rest of the bike assembly a lot easier. Now you can take your torque wrench and tighten those bolts down to 8 or 9 foot-pounds, which is somewhere between 11 and 12 Newton meters. So I have a standard torque wrench here. This one has a range of 5 to 15 Newton meters. And essentially what you do is you set the torque you're looking for, and then as you're wrenching down, it'll click and tell you that you've achieved the preset torque you're looking for. Our kickstand is also adjustable. So if you think it's leaning over too far, you want to straighten it out, or it's not leaning over far enough, essentially you take a 4mm hex wrench, you can loosen this bolt right here and adjust the length on that kickstand. Now we're ready to put your handlebar onto your stem. We'll start by loosening the bolts in your stem faceplate. We're going to take this faceplate all the way off. So you can watch me loosen every one of these bolts, or go to the fridge, get yourself something to drink, pop in a Hot Pocket into that microwave, make yourself a little snack, grab the Fritos. Okay, our faceplate is off. Next, you're going to take your handlebars and you're going to center them in your stem. Put that faceplate back on. And we'll just get it loosely tightened on there for now. Okay, and then I'm just gonna snug these down. So if you're looking at your handlebars and your display is not on the left side, you've done something wrong. You might need to pop those off and turn them around the other way. If your brake levers are facing backwards, you might have done something wrong. You gotta pop those off and turn them around. So you might notice as I'm going through here and tightening these down, I'm using kind of an X pattern. So I'm going from this bolt to this bolt to this bolt to this bolt to this bolt and back and forth like that. Really what I want to do here is I want to make sure that I'm tightening this down evenly. I don't want that stem faceplate to be too far to one side or too far to the other side. I don't want to tighten down one bolt before I tighten down all the rest. I want to do these evenly and balanced. One way you can tell you're doing a good job is if your gap between your stem and faceplate is even on the top and on the bottom. You also want to make sure that your handlebar is centered left to right within that faceplate. Next, I'm going to grab my torque wrench again, and I'm going to tighten each one of these bolts to 4 foot-pounds or 5 Newton meters. And so when this is tightened down properly, you should be able to grab your handlebars and try to rotate them forward, and they're not gonna move. So next you're saying to yourself, Chris, those handlebars look a little wonky. Well, okay. Grab your 5mm hex wrench and loosen your stem clamp bolts over here. So then it might be helpful to secure the front wheel between your front 2 legs. So you can twist those handlebars. You want to make sure that your handlebar is aligned with that front wheel. Then you can tighten those stem clamp bolts back down. Again, I'm alternating tightening one side to the other so that they're both clamping down evenly. These you can tighten to 15 foot-pounds or 20 Newton meters. And again, the quick safety check you can do is to put that wheel between your front legs. Try turning that handlebars, and they shouldn't rotate around your steer tube. Turn the bike around. So next, you're gonna go in your parts box and you're gonna get out your seat post and your saddle. One thing you're gonna wanna keep your eye out for when you're installing your seat post is this minimum insertion mark. So before we install our seat post, we're gonna wanna put a little bit of grease into our seat tube. Now you can use any sort of general purpose bicycle grease. And then if you have a little brush or a extra piece of cable housing or something like that, that would be useful. Today, I'm gonna use the nitrile rubber glove, just to put a little bit of grease, like a dime-sized dollop, and put that around the inside of that seat tube. That'll make sure that that seat post can move freely up and down and around once you've got it installed. Now that I've got my grease in there, I'm gonna open up my quick release seat clamp and put it in my seat post. So when you're installing this, just make sure you're staying, that minimum insertion mark stays here or below in the seat tube. Really what you want is to feel it start to get tight at about the halfway point, and then you give it the rest of the business. Next, we'll put on our seat clamp. Here you've got 2 nuts on either side of the seat clamp, and those tighten down with a 13mm box wrench. So you want your saddle to be just about parallel with the ground. So you can loosen up these nuts with your 13mm box wrench, and then that allows you to rotate this thing. You can also move it fore to aft a little bit if you want to move your saddle front to back. Then you can get it, make sure that's aligned with your bike frame, and you can tighten it down. And these can go pretty tight. So once you get your torque wrench out, you can tighten these down to 20 Newton meters. Quick test here to see if you've got it tight enough. Take that saddle and try to twist it back and forth. You shouldn't be able to twist that once it's installed in your frame properly. Okay, one last thing we gotta do before you hop on your bike and ride away. Install the pedals. Those are in your parts box. Again, we're gonna wanna use a little bit of all-purpose bike grease to put those on. Grab my glove again. Put a little bit of grease on those pedal threads. And in this case, a little dab will do you. One of the most common bits of confusion people have when installing pedals is which is the right, which is the left. Okay, so on the ends of these spindles, you'll see there's a little L and R stamped in there. It's very important that you put your right pedal on the right side, left pedal on the left side. Why? Because the left side pedal is reverse threaded. That is, it is not righty-tighty. It is lefty-tighty. It tightens counterclockwise. But your right pedal installs like everything else, every other bolt and nut you've installed in your life. Now right side, you think about the way you're riding a bike. Right side. Also known as the drive side. So you get that threaded in, grab your pedal wrench, or a 15mm box wrench will do the trick. You can tighten that thing down. And then this will be like super fast forward in. All right, so now your TUOTEG Explore bike is set up and ready to ride. If you have any questions on installation, any questions on bike maintenance, or you want to just talk, chat about the weather, don't hesitate to reach out to us. It's support@tuoteg.com.